Hey guys. Hey, welcome to All Access Network Television. I am Shane McLain. I am the host of Bridging the Seen and Unseen. And of course, this is the fabulous Gwen. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good. How are you?
I am good, good. My wife and I got to get out today and go do some walking around and checking out. We got some new little outlet things around here and so we went to a couple stores and
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Well, we
hi.
lost Shane for a second. He'll
Uh-oh.
be back. But we
There
have a
we go.
special guest, Thomas Patrick Gormley.
What's
And
happening?
here's Shane back.
sorry about that, guys. Sorry about that.
I went
I,
ahead and brought him out.
that's
Lost.
good. That's good. That's
Is that a
good.
black cat thing or?
Well, he just kind of wanted to go by, and I guess he was trying to rub against me, but when he did, he just happened to hit that one little red button.
Oh yeah,
Oh, boy.
I know
Yeah,
that button.
like my wife said, being a gremlin.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Tom, I'm very very excited to have you on, man. Because I know that you got a show right after this one.
Yeah.
But I've always been curious of talking about you. Won't you tell us a little bit about yourself, man? And you said something on your bio that kind of caught. It says that you're an open minded skeptic.
hmm
Now,
Yeah.
explain that to me a little bit.
Well, I think it's very important. After 40 years of doing this, I've seen some stuff that doesn't make sense. But I think the way we use our brains and the way we perceive things and as we see them, I think we don't have the answers for it yet. It's the same thing when doctors used to think bloodletting would cure people. And I think it's the same thing in the paranormal. We're seeing some things that don't make sense to what we know now and all that. And I think that's what keeps me an open-minded skeptic. I do believe that there's paranormal going on, right? And it's
Yes.
supernatural, but I'm still skeptical to the point where it's maybe in the future, with enough of us doing it the right way, we could figure out why things do what they do. I just think we don't have the answers yet.
Right, right. I definitely agree with that. I think in the paranormal field, I do think you have regular ghost hunters, then you have paranormal investigators, and then you have paranormalists, and there is a difference in them. Paranormalists are more of the kind that like to really dig in, get into the research of things, whether it's like the property, the EMF lines, anything. I mean, just anything that that is questionable. And I think everybody in the paranormal field should have a little bit of skepticism to them. They should come in there open minded there, because none of us have 100% answers to anything. So when we have experiences and stuff like that, I had my first experience when I was 10 years old, and I know what I saw. It wasn't There wasn't any kind of tools or nothing like that. I didn't use anything. I was literally standing in a mirror that my grandfather had built, and I was adjusting my tie, and I looked in, and he was standing behind me,
Yeah.
and he had his hand on my shoulder, and I didn't feel it, but I turned around to look, and when I turned back, he was gone.
Yeah. You want me to
And
explain that to you?
yeah, go ahead.
So, like you were saying, nobody's 100% right or wrong about the paranormal. I say it all the time, like a broken record, and for people that come in with ego to think they know everything going on, they don't. But there is theory, all right? And the theory is what makes the chase so fun to go
Yeah,
down the rabbit hole. And in that situation, our minds, when energy hits us to that capacity while you're staring in the mirror, you have a familiar energy that came upon you. So in your mind, you created that picture, that familiar energy, which was your grandfather. And that's why you were able to see him, because you recognize that energy. It's a lot where some people get energy that's unfamiliar, and in their brains, they're thinking, oh, this doesn't feel right. So they're going to picture somebody with horns and, an evil something or whatever, because that's how their mind's trying to make sense of the unknown. And I think it's scientifically proven how the brain looks at that, and it creates the pictures of what the brain knows from memorization of growing up and living.
Mm. So you think possibly, because I had no expectation, I wasn't even thinking,
Hmm.
of him or anything like that. I just happened to be standing in a mirror that he
Yeah.
built.
Yeah.
And I know when I looked up, he was standing right behind me. Now, my grandfather, he's from Dublin, Ireland, and he was 6'4", 285 pounds.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's no mistaking something like that.
Well, exactly. There's no mistaking your connection to him. You're in his mirror that he made, that he put his energy into, and he's always around you. Loved ones never die; they're always with you.
Yeah, no,
They become
yeah,
spirit guides. They try and put you in the right direction. That's why we talk about that family trauma that happens over and over again. And our family that stays with us tries to put us in the right direction to try and change that. It's up to us to recognize it and try and put our next future on the right path. So
right,
it's
right.
dependent. Yeah.
That's it. It's very interesting, because I've been chasing. I'm 47 years old, and I've been chasing this since I was 10 years old. Just trying to find, just answers, and I've had some really really odd experiences that happen. I've had some dark experiences. I've had some Indian experiences. I mean, I've had a little bit of everything, kind of going through, but it has intrigued me enough to where I definitely want to keep going and definitely want to keep finding answers to it. But I just thought it was interesting that you said that you were a skeptic there, because it's interesting having someone like that, because like like with you being a skeptic, do you feel like the paranormal 100% does exist, right?
Yeah, being an open-minded skeptic is being open to anything that could happen, because I know how, in theory, how the brain works.
Right.
And we only use, subconsciously, only probably 20% of it. What's the other 80% doing to process, what we're thinking and how our body moves or what we perceive? We don't know. That's another mystery. Nobody knows really 100% how the brain works. You
Mm,
can touch stuff here and there and see what happens to the body, but that consciousness will never be able to. I know AI and all that, but you're never going to be able to create a consciousness to get some machine or AI to cry or
right.
to feel emotion. Yeah, they could give you all the answers and figure out things, but that's probably the biggest part of the paranormal is the emotion of it.
Yeah.
When somebody passes away, they don't know they passed. They have that trauma that holds them. And even the living, when they have trauma, that part of their soul that hurts, it leaves them. And they try to fill it with something to get that back, which you can't. Your soul is you. It's not anybody else. And that's where soul retrieval comes in as a shaman. I have to understand what's missing and try and bring it back for them and fill their soul back for them to be whole and not missing and not putting the alcoholism there or the hoarding
Not
or
replace it with
whatever.
something negative. Yeah.
Exactly. So, yep. And
That's
that's
awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah, well, I'm gonna get into some of that stuff about what you believe and stuff like that too. But can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
well, been at this in my teen years. I've been an empath for pretty much my whole life. Didn't know what it was, and you're growing up in the. I won't date myself, but I was been doing this since dirt was cleaned, so that should say enough right there. But I had a chance meeting. I went to a college around Halloween time to go see a lecture, and it was given by Ed and Lorraine Warren. And
Okay.
I met them afterwards backstage, and Lorraine just skipped everybody and came right up to me and says, "Honey, you've been having problems." She just picked me out and just started telling me about my aura and things that she used to do. And as I'm talking to her, I started gaining that relationship with her. And over the next few years before I went off to college, at the time I met him, I was probably about 14, 15. So I only had like 4 years with him of trying to learn, about myself and not to let it get to me. to control it, to help other people. And, once I turned 18, went off to college, I kind of lost track with them. The last time, unfortunately, when Ed passed, I was not in the area. I was in Florida, and I missed that. And then, when Lorraine died, unfortunately, I missed that. But a lot of my friends, that were attached to the Warrens, I'm still friendly with, like people like Joe Frankie, John Zaffis, all of us, we still talk, and Jimmy Pettinino, and all these people. And, we just want people to, see the paranormal, how it was, how the Warrens used to sit at a table and troubleshoot everything and then go. They just didn't rush in and do an investigation. And I think a lot of people get the wrong idea about, what Ed and Lorraine used to do. And again, I'll tell people, and I'm going to put it simply, if it wasn't for them, none of us would be having this conversation right now.
True.
Yep.
Yeah, we got there's another guy too. I can't oh
Dr. Hans Holzer.
Yeah, Hans Holzer. Yep. He's
one.
another one. He's another one that was just really in depth like that. That and from what I understand about him is he would take his time with educating and letting people, get into what it was like to in parapsychology and things of that nature.
Well, that's what people forget. These are pioneers. They're going to make their mistakes. And it's a matter, we see them, and you got to say, hey, that was a mistake, but what did you learn from it to become better? I don't think Ed and Lorraine came out of the gates as knowledgeable as they were near the end. They had to learn just like any of us. That's why we read the books. That's why we go do these home cases, to get the experience. Or if you're new to it, go with somebody that knows what they're doing, so it keeps you out of trouble with the spiritual world that you could get into if you don't play with, you can't play with this stuff.
Yeah.
And Shane, you're going to know for a fact yourself because of what you've dealt with. And I know Gwen's dealt with it too. And we've had plenty of conversations about seeing a person, a living person, and know they have evil behind those eyes. You can recognize it in the spirit world too. So, and that's how to discern and make sure that you're trying to figure out what's really going on, and be that open-minded skeptic, just to make sure that you look at the psychology of it. What's going on with these people? Why is this happening? What's the trauma? Is this trauma them together as a family creating it as an egregore? Can we just leave that? There's so many different things to look at. And I think too many people in the paranormal now, they grab their equipment, they run in and they do an investigation, they get to evidence, they throw it out on TikTok. But for me, after all this time, I was doing this before there was TV shows. So all these people,
me too.
TV shows on, and I go into an investigation, a long interview. I do all the background. I'm a former law enforcement, so my background checks and stuff are pretty in depth. I really go down the rabbit hole because I want to know who I might be talking to in this home if it gets to that case. But after all that due diligence, if I feel that there is something going on, and I could help the living and the dead in the situation, then I'll do an investigation. The investigation is your last resort, because you could be opening up something, if you don't know what you're doing.
That's so true. That's so true, because I've been on many cases to where a paranormal team has already been in and made the situations worse. They did things inside the investigation that ramped things up, and then they couldn't figure things out. So then their next thing is, bring in a demonologist or a priest, and then they come in and they didn't do anything to help the situation. So I've had to come in and do a lot of changing, because I deal with a very theological way of when I do a clearing and cleansing of a house. I've studied theology for 28 years, and this is a calling for me. I really consider this a calling for me. I left a full-time ministry to to really get in and not only dive deep into the paranormal, but to really help families with understanding, of things in the paranormal, with things that they have going on, and you know, to enlighten them that if a coffee cup is thrown across the room, that's not necessarily demonic. I mean, just things of that nature. And I really take pride, when I go in and do this kind of cleansing, because it's very in depth. I use a particular method that I use, and I mean, it's tried and true. I mean, it's been used for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, and I learned from some of the best people, and I really appreciate the fact of being able to do this, to be able to help families and things, and actually, I also try to help teams too. I bring teams, and we'll do like a webinar or something like that, to where I teach them, proper grounding, protections, clearing, cleansings, the differences in demonic. As far as the different hauntings that go on. I always try to help them like that too, because knowledge is key in here. And when you have that, and then you try to share that and branch it with other people, it only makes people stronger in what they do.
Yeah, I mean, I've done cases where I've had other shaman with me, and it becomes more powerful because you have similarity in how you look at things. And you're right, Jane. All that stuff is we're here to help the living, and we're here to help the dead.
That's
That's
right.
it. All that other stuff is great. We're doing this show that's great because we're teaching people about
Yeah.
what knowledge we have. Are we experts? No, because you're
No.
never 100% right about it. But at least it's years of experience, trials and errors, and I mean a lot of errors. And nobody's perfect. And I think it's because of those errors it makes you better. I tell people the story all the time. When Edison tried to invent the light bulb, he failed 10,000 times before he got it right. Did he give up?
Right.
No, but he learned something every time. And that's what made him a name and everybody knows. That's the same thing with somebody like Ed and Lorraine Warren or Houdini or whoever was big in whatever they did.
Right.
That's what it was. It's doing the work, learning the hard way sometimes, but learning and hearing and going forward. Don't ride people's coattails. Don't try and do their work. We're all different. We're all on our own journey. There's a higher power that helps us with our journey. There's our spirit guides. Those are the things that help us. And anytime I help a family or I help a spirit, it's not me doing it. I'm a
Yeah.
conduit. My guides, my higher power works through me. And
Right.
I just give the human to the human, or the spirit to my spirit to the spirit. And whatever they tell me, I say things sometimes I don't even know what I'm saying, but it's just
Exactly.
the
Do you
God
remember
sending me
it?
the right words,
Do you remember it afterwards?
No, because the thing is when I get in spirit, you'll see me. I'll profusely sweat, and I will say whatever comes first because I learned that a long time ago that your first
hmm
expression when you're in spirit is what you need to say, and that's what I need to say to spirit. And it's worked. Um, I give gratitude to my spirit guides for letting me be that conduit, but that's what it is. I'll tell people, and I tell them all the time, if you have ego, you'll never be in touch with spirit. It'll go away. Even if you have gifts, you can have all the gifts you want. But if
One
you
hundred
don't have the
percent.
right, if you don't have the right intention, they will go away. And I've seen it happen. And I'm
Yes.
currently watching it happen with some people that I was involved with for a little while. I feel bad for them, but again, I warned them, and I'm not one to warn people, because I like to keep things to myself. I don't like drama. I don't like any of that. I run a business, with my partner Charles, and we do all these events and things like that. So I got a business mind, but I have my small circle of friends too that know
Yeah.
how I am, and that's important when you do this because it is it. Some people look at it as a business. It's really not. It is a calling, like you said.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wasn't. I
It
wasn't. I didn't say one day I'm a shaman. You got to be chosen. Your spirit guides put you through it. it's like going through like Hell Week. If you were a Navy SEAL or anything like that, I remember being like sick and things like that, just kind of denying it for many, many years, and just going through it and learning. I've learned from a lot of people over the last few years. Everybody that's been in my life is put into my life for a reason.
Right.
I have to be open to it to learn from it. I don't know everything. I got to learn from people like Lorraine Warren, my ex-partner, Jenna Beth Rush has taught me a lot, and being with Charles and just all these people that are in my life, they have little things to say to keep me going on the journey, because I think spirit guides are telling them to tell my spirit guide something, and you learn. So that's what it is.
So what is you said shaman, and I know don't you didn't you have a podcast like the Shaman and the Showman or something like that?
That's my events company, the Shaman and the Showman LLC. We run the Connecticut Paracon and True Crime Festival. We do the Salem Paracon Horror Fest. We do the Connecticut Witch Festival. We do a lot of psychic fairs. We do, like next Saturday, we're doing an event where we take people to a haunted location that isn't, done over and over and over again. It's fresh. So we get called in. So we bring a group of people. So it's usually small. If it's a small house, if it's a bigger area, we can have more people. Like this time around, we got 15. We sold out over, a month and a half in advance. And so we go in, we give them a dinner and all that. We go to get some pizza, and we just kind of instruct how to get in the right intention, grounded. And then we go in and we teach them, proper techniques, what to look for, what questions to ask. And we go through that. And we have a lot of other people that are with us that are very well experienced that help out, or people that are brand new and just want to have that paranormal experience, hopefully.
Right.
And every one we've done, something has always happened. And some of it's been pretty crazy. So I've helped spirits make the decision to move on in front of 25 patrons. They didn't know what to say. They've never seen anything like it before. Those are the things that might happen. Do they happen all the time? It's hard, because for me as a human being, if I were sitting somewhere in a room and then 25 people came in and started asking me questions, I think I'd be a little, I don't know.
Right. Right.
Just because their meat suit's gone doesn't mean they still have that potential consciousness of that fear.
That's right.
Think about it this way: in a movie, it's funny, I always watch it, when the people feel like somebody's breaking into the house, you know what they do? They hide under the bed.
Yeah.
They hide in the closet. They run and hide up in the attic. Where do children see ghosts?
Under the bed.
Attic, under the bed. Yeah.
They're probably hiding from us. They're probably just as scared of us as we supposedly feel of them. And that's what takes the fear away. Well, they look at us the same way. It's the misunderstanding of what you're dealing with is what it sometimes is. And it's simple sometimes. But sometimes you do get those cases. I'm on the tail end of the Enfield, the 1771 Enfield house, where we used to call it the Enfield Demon House. There's a book written about it. I was lucky to get interviewed and be part of the book. I'll show you that. It's by Rebecca F. Pittman.
Nice.
You could get it on Amazon, or if you come to some of the cons, like myself, I'm there, Joe Frankie, John Zappis, the people from that live in the Enfield house. We're all together a lot at these Paracons.
Are you friends with John Zappis?
We'll autograph it for you. It'll be great, So, the what?
Are you friends with John Zappis?
Yeah, John is a great guy.
I want to have him on my show.
Oh, good. Yeah.
I definitely would, because the way that he has worked, throughout the years is a lot of the ways that I work, when it comes with spiritual warfare and things of that nature. And it's always intrigued me. I've always been drawn to it, I was a full-time Baptist pastor, and and I'd preach on spiritual warfare and things of that nature, but literally spiritual warfare to them did not mean what it means to me. Spiritual warfare to them is, oh, your family's going through something, we'll put you on a prayer list and things like that. And I mean, that's perfectly fine. But, I believe that your faith has to produce actions when it comes to dealing with families and their issues.
Yeah.
You know, you have to go in there, you know, not with oh, you really don't have things, or this is demonic going on. You have to go in there and really listen to them and see what they have going on. And the good thing about, you know, people like my wife and I is we actually go in, we'll do the investigation, we'll do the identifying. We have a really good interview process before. Then after we get done with the identifying, we sit down, we talk, and then we do the clearing and the cleansing of the house. And I mean, we will do it all, you know, within a period. And and people really respect that, you know, and I think it's very important to really meet people on their level, because, you know, if you go in thinking that you have all the answers, or that you know exactly what they're going through, I mean, that's just no way that a client like that wants to hear that, because
Well, you don't
they're
know.
going
You don't know
going
what
through
people are
something.
going through. You don't know what people are going through. We don't all think the same. It goes back to, I did the serial killer show. Everybody has a pattern that we might know, but there's that fingerprint, the thing that makes them do what they do. Why
Right.
did this family have this and that? It's asking a lot of questions. And the thing is, in the paranormal, if you can't get the whole family on the same page,
Right.
you can clear
Exactly.
the house all you want, it's coming back until you change those attitudes. Again, that
Mhm.
faith, that soul, that look, that retrieval that you need. There's so many different things that come into place. You got to put the puzzle back together, but they have to put the puzzle together. You say, here, there's a piece. Where do you think that fits? They have
Right.
to make the
Right.
answer. It's the same thing I tell people when I'm dealing with spirit to make them pass on. I can't make them pass on. When people tell me, oh, I helped the spirit, you know, pass on. It's like, how did you help? So the things work through you. You give them the words, what you hear, and they make the decision themselves. It's the same thing. If
Right.
you were a smoker, I could tell you quit smoking, but did I just make you quit smoking? Or was it you saying, you know what, you're right, I think I'm gonna quit? You made the
You
decision,
can
not
lead
me.
a spirit to the light, but you can't make them in.
Yeah. And a lot of times, I know you said the light. This is another thing I talk about, you know, and it gets controversial sometimes, but when you first die, the light that you see is that soul sucking out of your meat suit, is that creates that light, is the theory. Now, if you're a stuck spirit, the reason why they can't find the light, because it isn't there anymore. You know, they're in a point of trauma still as a spirit. And the way I've been able to help spirits move along or help mothers find their children in the spirit world is I get contact with them and I ask them, what was your best moment when you were alive, or what you remember? I had a spirit say, well, I love daisies. And I said, I want you to picture yourself in a field of daisies. And as soon as she did that, she goes, oh, thank you. And she was gone. You could feel the energy
Yep.
leave.
Yep.
It's the same
Yep.
thing when a mother can't and spirit can't find her kids. What was the last great memory you had with your kids?
Right.
And they say it, and oh, there they are. And you hear it come through these devices. It's
Yep.
incredible. But again, it's not me doing it, but I feel so good about it. You
Yeah.
know,
Me
I'm
too.
not gonna, I'm human. I'm human, and that's such a beautiful thing to see. And I get emotional with it. But I know
Yeah.
it's not, it's my spirit guides, and I'm so grateful that they allow me to see that and to help. So,
Yeah. We were my wife and I were running a spirit box session because we had just gotten we get spirit boxes made by John Huntington,
mhm.
and he's a really good friend of mine, and we had the spirit box sitting here and we had it filmed, and this guy Johnny came through,
Mhm.
and he didn't want to talk to my wife at all, could care less to talk to my wife, nothing at all. He was answering little things for me, but he was scared to cross over. And then the next night he came back through, and I was sitting on that into the couch, and we had the spirit box going, and you can tell he had, I mean, he clearly said that he had fear, that there was judgment there, that he felt like, and we were telling him, we are not here to judge you, we're not going to judge you. I said, but this is going to be up to you, whether you go whether you go, we're not here to judge you, but you have to go, and you have to find your next level of, and he was coming through the spirit box. And Thomas, when you're in a gym and you get somebody that's like clear across the gym that says something to you, and that echoing sound that came through, and he was ready to cross, he was ready to go, he was ready, and it sounded like he was clear across the gym. My wife heard it and everything, and the very last thing he said goodbye.
Yeah.
And
thank you, goodbye. That's when you know that they've made the decision.
yeah, because we're not here to judge them, and we don't have that authority, we don't have that, we can judge, and we can base our belief off character and things like that, but we do not have the authority to judge anybody, especially the ones that have passed from here. Because if they're already scared of judgment itself, and they're getting judgment from you, or they that's a terrible feeling. They'll be stuck in limbo the whole time. We don't want that.
I'm just talking to you for the first time tonight. I've known Gwen for a little while. I don't know every little thing about your lives and what you go through. So who am I to judge you?
Right.
I don't know what makes you tick. I don't know. Yeah, there's people that rub me the wrong way or something like that. But I'm that type of guy. I'm one of those, if I don't like you, I just stay away from you. I'm not one to say things judgmental through social media or anything like that.
Right.
My job, and it's always going to be my job, and this type of stuff, coming on and talking about it, or being on a TV show, or being at a Paracon, that's all great. But my main focus, especially with other people I work with the word Druna, our healing network and all that we do, it's, did I help the client and did I help spirit? It's simple. We complicate things so much that, what are we doing to ourselves? What are we doing to the spirit? What are we doing to the living? We owe it to people when they want help to help them the right way.
Right. We definitely do. We definitely do. You said you were in law enforcement and things of that nature. When did you first have a paranormal experience, and what made you question, or get the mind going?
I don't think it was more of how I felt. I could go into a room and feel sad, and just, a lot of people think paranormal is like
Empathic.
seeing a ghost or seeing this. No, it's I'm not the same as everybody. I'm different. That's paranormal too. So my first paranormal experience is wondering, why do I have emotions? Why do I feel weird when I'm in a crowd? And those types of things. That's paranormal too. It isn't always about your first experience. It isn't always about seeing a ghost, or watching something levitate across the room. And I tell you, I've seen so many
Supernatural.
things. Yeah, I've seen so many things. You name it, I probably have seen it in some way or another. And there's cases that I don't talk about, because for me, and you'll know this, Shane, I've been through some pretty crazy cases where I don't talk about because I don't want to give that entity power again.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't talk about it. I do, when I do my lectures, I do talk about cases that sound demonic, but after doing the due diligence, it was just somebody reaching out that needed help.
Yeah.
They did things where scratch somebody, push somebody. That isn't always demonic.
No, it's not.
If you were a soul and you hadn't talked to somebody in 500 years, and finally somebody could hear you, it's the same thing. I tell people, it's like the living. If you're drowning and the lifeguard comes out and you're so desperate, you grab the lifeguard, not realizing you could drown each other.
Right.
It's the same thing. Spirits will do that because, oh my God, you could hear me. And they
Right.
don't know what they're doing. And you have to understand that if you know what you're up against, who was in the house, what happened to them, have that communication. Case in point, I had a case, it wasn't the Enfield house that I've been talking about, but in the same town. And we got a call that the boy he's 18, getting scratched, getting pushed. And so automatically you're going to think, maybe it's demonic. That's what some people would think, but you got to think of all the other stuff too. So we did all the research, found out there was a family that lived there. These people were renting the house, and the husband and wife had passed like into their 90s and all that. So we go in and we sit with the family, and we could pick up that the boy had psychic abilities and didn't realize he did. And when you have psychic abilities, you become that beacon of light.
Mm-hmm.
Things will come to you, and if you don't understand it, you feel like you're being attacked, like I'm being haunted, and you go crazy. Some people are open to it and they don't realize. So we explain that to the kid about what's going on, try to calm him, get him help for that. But then, we had to do an investigation because there was a spirit that wanted to get its story out. So let's hear what it was.
Mm-hmm.
So we picked up psychically that this man that lived here, went to World War II, after had PTSD, and became an alcoholic and treated his family very badly. There was a lot of abuse in the house and things like that. And he passed, and he felt like he couldn't move on because he felt he treated his family so right. Again, the judgment and all. So what he wanted us to do was, to apologize to my wife. Can you put daisies on her grave? So we found where her grave was. We went to the grave. We did a ceremony, put the daisies on the grave, and all the activity stopped at that house. Those people were finally able to sleep after 2 years.
Yeah.
That's helping the living, and that's helping the dead in a nutshell.
Right.
So,
right. And there was one where a lady and her child or whatever, they had a paranormal team go in there, and she was told by both teams that there was a demonic infestation, in her house, because cabinets were being swung open, coffee cups were being moved, things like that. And I can't believe that there are teams out there that will just jump to this demonic thing because of cabinets or coffee cups or things like that. Well, to find out this lady 6 months earlier, 6 months, her husband got up in the morning
Mhm.
and he got on his motorcycle and he was going to the store before his wife got up,
Yep.
and he was T-boned with the
Yep.
motorcycle and he was killed on spot.
Yep.
And we found out that, when the cabinets were opening, when he was living, he would play games with his wife. His wife would go and put dishes up or whatever, and then he would go back through and open the cabinets,
Yeah.
and doing things. So it wasn't, there was nothing there that was malevolent or nothing like that. It was her husband trying to reach out to let her know
I'm
that,
always
hey,
going to be around you. Love never
hey, yeah,
dies.
I'm
Never
still
dies.
I'm still here,
Yeah.
and I mean, just this woman was ready to move out of her house. She thought that there was something demonic in there because of cabinets and coffee cups and things like that. But the coffee cup that was moving was his coffee cup. The cabinets, that was because he did that every time she did dishes or whatever. He'd go and he'd open up the cabinets. So that's all he was doing.
Yeah.
There wasn't anything that was affecting the kids or anything like that. And then when she found out and was able to communicate there, then that peace that she had about him still being there looking over the family meant more to her than anything.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole thing. Due diligence, asking all the questions, what's happened recently. Of course, that's a big one. That's, relatively, and I say it's difficult for the family, but really has somebody that's a criminalist and behaviorist and all that. I could tell, okay, how that affects people. To me, it's simple. When I'm asking people questions, I could put the pieces together and know that, yeah, all he's wants to do is let you know he's there. Love never dies and all that. And all these other people come in, it's demonic.
Right.
You're telling the wrong story, my friend. You have to discern.
Yep.
In this industry, if you don't discern properly, you're putting
Yep.
people in jeopardy.
That's
This
it.
isn't fun and games. I don't want people to think, yeah, doing the paranormal, this is fun, great. I can put myself on YouTube. No, it isn't fun and games. You know, I've gone to enough cases that somebody screwed something up because they wanted to be the next Zach Baggins or whatever, and think that whatever they saw on TV is going to work. No, you got to do the work properly. You got to take the time. I'm not saying it takes years to learn. You know, if you mentor with the right people,
Yeah.
you know, you're going to be able to discern a little better. And a lot of it has to do with common sense. You
Right.
know, a lot of people in this world, unfortunately, don't have common sense.
I know. I know. They definitely don't. They definitely don't. And, you know, I always tell people, like, even on my team, whatever, I said, first of all, I said, debunk everything obvious first, and two, don't get a YouTube education.
Yes.
You know, because you need firsthand, you need to learn the proper way to do an investigating, because if you lead a family in the wrong direction, matter of fact, my wife and I are going to be on a show probably in the fall, and they came from Canada. They came from Canada to film, and it's My Haunted Hometown.
Yeah.
We did a show on one of my cases to where my client literally had two paranormal teams go in there. They couldn't figure it out. Demonologist, a priest came in, did a thing. They couldn't figure it out. My wife and I went in 6.5 hours. We were able to identify exactly who it was. The client was able to confront and actually speak, you know, and get intelligent answers. And we found out exactly who it was. The name was coming through the spirit box. We kept getting Franklin Henry. We were getting explosion. We were getting railroad track. We were getting, I mean, just all kind of things. And we were able to put it together. We found that in 1973, a quarter of a mile behind my client's house in 1973, Franklin Henry and 6 other firefighters were on a train, and a propane leak came. He was 28 years old, and it blew it up and killed them all.
Yeah.
So, and then I found a picture of Franklin Henry, and I took it to my client, and I put the picture next to my client. And if you took the glasses off of Franklin Henry, he looked almost identical to my client. He wasn't affecting the kids. He wasn't affecting the wife. It was only Shane. It was only the client. Yeah. So we found that he was living vicariously through Shane, because like, he's got his family, he's got his things. He was affecting him to that point. Yeah. And we were able to help him. We were able to help clear and cleanse his house and actually get him to move on from there. And do you know, I still talk to this client even to this day. And he goes, I cannot thank you enough, because you guys did more in 6.5 hours than they did the entire time. And I'm like, look, I said, I only wanted to find the right answers for you. I didn't want to put any more fear, any more anxiety into your life, your and your family's life, than what you already had. And he even got to a point to where he was like, if I would have known this is who you are and this is what you wanted, we could have been living together. Yeah. You know, I mean, just basically sitting there saying it, you know. And I mean, it was so comforting, you know, to him, that what I do at the end is, before I seal off the door, before I seal off everything, I put a REM pod in the front door.
Yep.
And I put the REM pod by the front door, and I told Franklin Henry that, you know, he had to leave. He had to leave this place. This wasn't his house anymore. He had to move on. He had to go find his family. You know, he had to move on from there. And literally, I was standing by the door, and the coldest draft went right past me, and the REM pod went right off. and we were able to seal the inside outside of the door, and I was able to clear off and seal off the yard, seal off their property, every single thing, and he has not had a single problem since. But that's because I came in with a very open mind. I came in wanting to find the proper answers for him. And if you, like you said, due diligence, then you're just doing a disservice for even trying to say that you're going in there to investigate. Because if you're going there to investigate and you can't come with answers, what's the sense in you going in there stirring everything up?
Well, exactly. The way you're talking is, I look at it this way. I do these psychic fairs and people come, well, I don't know who I'm going to sit with. I says, I want you to feel the energy from one of the 20, and whoever you feel the most energy from is the right one to be with. It's the same thing as an investigator. If the spirit doesn't recognize or your client doesn't feel it, they're probably not going to listen to you. And you need them, all of you, to be that trifecta.
That's right.
You as the investigator, the family, you need to have that relationship in which spirit. They have to take your advice. If they don't, which happens, nothing's perfect. I don't care what anybody says. These cases we're talking about with the great outcome, there's the ones that people don't want it to leave. You clear the house, it's good for a couple days, it comes back. You have to want it to leave, and you have to be the right person where they hear what you're saying and make that change. Because if they don't, it's just going to keep happening.
And see, not only, and another thing too is I try to get clients to understand, not only do I have to have faith, will, and intent in this process, so do you.
Mm-hmm.
And so when that balance comes between the client and I having faith, will, and intent behind this, and we are both pushing that to where the intention is pure and it's there and it's movable and it's workable, then it really does come out better.
Well, yeah, just for me, what I recognize is, for me, we all have our faults, we all have our traumas, we all have that. But the thing is for me, I understand that, and I tell my higher power, I want to make sure that when I go into investigation, I'm as purified of that as possible, because I don't need it to attack me. I need to concentrate on helping the family and the spirit. So if I have hangups, it's not time to, I want people to know, don't go into investigation drunk or things like that, putting yourself in a situation, you're not helping anybody. But even if you have stuff in your past that you need to make peace with to be able to do this work, most of us that do this work, we've screwed up. And it's a matter of recognizing that. And once we do, and we're positive with it, then we're able to help. It's hard to help somebody if you don't know what they're going through.
That's right. That's right. And especially like if you're going in, if I know I'm going into a dark case and I know it's something, I spend days upon days, like either fasting, praying, doing things of that nature. And I take what we do.
As Catholic or as somebody in the clergy, you're going to go to confession. You want to purify yourself and what your thoughts are at that moment. Once you do that, but for me, I grew up Catholic. I understand all that. I do intertwine everything, but I'm a shaman. Everything's very similar. We all look at things the same way, a dark spirit, or for me, a lot with the land, with elemental type of energies and what's sent. There's a lot of different moving parts. But again, if you don't purify yourself, it's hard for your spirit guides to work with you. Again, I call it ego sometimes. If you have a big ego, that's a bad thing. You need to put that aside, because it's not you. I don't care what anybody says, and it drives me crazy. Unfortunately, I hate saying it on a show, but stop.
But people do. It's the truth.
The best thing since sliced bread. You're not. It's not you. It's spirit working through you.
Right.
Remember that. Right.
I need to read Shane something.
Good.
Okay.
Sean, he said, Shane, you're an amazing person. You have a great show. as well. Keep up the great work, working on all that you do as well on the network, always learning something new from you, all of us.
Thank you,
Yep.
man. Thank
That's
you.
true.
I really appreciate it, guys. And you know, I wanted to open this. I wanted to open this to have not only some great people like yourself, you know, coming on, but you know, I like to keep an open mind, and I think that we can all learn things from each other, and that's my whole point, you know, because we are all in the paranormal together. We are all in this together, no matter what we're doing in this field. We're trying to make things better. You know, my motto for my life and my team is be the change that you want to see. And if you want that kind of change, then you have to start being that change, and you have to allow yourself to adapt. You have to allow yourself to change in areas that aren't so comfortable to you. So you need to be willing to be that change in
Well,
this
you're
field.
right. You're on your own journey. At the end of the day, you got to face yourself in the mirror. If you can't do that, there's stuff you still need to work on.
That's it. That's
to do
it.
this work, I'll tell you, this isn't for the faint of heart. I know a lot of
No.
people go out and they
No,
do
it's not.
this and they do that, but no, if you're doing the proper work and you do the work, you know, and you don't have ego and you're open to help people, then I guarantee it's going to change the way you look at the paranormal.
Yeah.
It's so much more peaceful that way. You take in a lot more when you could help somebody, family sleep after 2 years, or help a spirit just make that decision to move on. What else is there?
That I know.
No,
I
I
know.
don't care. You know, I love people, they put their videos on. That's great. All right. For me, I wasn't there, so I don't know how you got it. So I don't know if it's real. That's okay. As long as it makes you happy and you get your 20,000 likes or whatever, that's great. You know,
Right.
for you, it's great. For me, I'm different. And I'm not going to tell somebody to be different. I'm just letting you know this is what I do, and it's fulfilling for me as a human being, as
Yeah.
my meat suit is still here in my soul, but I know stuff works through me, and I understand that, and that's the way I'm always going to be. I'm I'm the nicest person you'll ever meet, but I could also have my dark side too.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
But you don't want to piss you off, right? Sorry, Shane. Yeah.
I think that's everybody. I think that's
Yeah.
everybody, you know, because like, you know, all of us have that side to where, you know, you shouldn't ever push somebody to that level, you know, and you know,
don't poke the rabbit hole.
right, you know, and you know, I believe, you know, when the Bible says, you know, that God will give you a peace that surpasses all understanding.
Yes.
And you know, you may not understand everybody, you may not understand every situation, but you can understand that they are human also, that they have mistakes and elements in their past or whatever they're doing that they may need to work on. So what's the sense in trying to make that person have a harder situation about what they're going through? I try to be understandable. I try to be relatable to people. I try to let them understand that you know, I'm a human being too. You know, I make mistakes. I do things differently, but
Yeah.
I am here to help you. You are here to help me. We're here in this together to do this, and we could really make this work,
Yeah.
you know. And if more people had that mentality, then we wouldn't have such the bullying and the backstabbing and things that are going on in the paranormal field. Because if we all cared enough to look outside of ourselves and really try to be that change that we want to see
Mhm.
in this field, the field would be a lot better, because not only would we be able to look past ourselves, we'll be looking into being able to help other people, clients, teams, things of that nature. Because until that happens, there's always going to be this dissension. Like you said, the ego concept, that's horrible in here. You should never have ego in there. If you cannot scientifically put on paper exactly what's going on and have a scientific theory method behind it, and you call yourself an expert behind it, don't come like you know everything, or because we all learn every single day. And the second that you stop learning, then life becomes extremely boring too.
Yeah. I
You
always
guys,
wanna
we
learn.
have 5 minutes.
Okay. I always want to learn something new every day. Whether you just got in the paranormal, you've been in the paranormal for a day, I could learn something from you.
All
It's
right.
about your personality and who you are, and how bad you want to help somebody in the right way. You
Yeah.
know, when people have that energy to help others, then it'll get to you, and it feels good when it's for the right reasons. And all of us
Yes.
out there, we all have ideas, we all have theories, and when we all are open to that, that's when you have that unity to be able to trade ideas. You know, the thing is every year when I do the Salem Paracon that I run, there's a bunch of us. We call ourselves the Salem 8. We stay in Airbnb. We sit at the table and we trade weird stories, but we're trading ideas. We're teaching each other new things, and you hear
That
things
sounds
and all
cool.
that. And we learn all at the beginning of the night. At the end of the night, we're all drunk anyways. So we learn it all at the beginning of the night. At the end of the night, we're eating Chinese food and drinking rabbit hole bourbon and stuff. I don't know, but that's what it is. That's the camaraderie of that tight circle, and we need to make that circle bigger in this industry to trade those times and have a good time and not be judgmental, like we were
Right.
talking about earlier. Everybody goes through life again, like I said. Everybody goes through a pattern in life. You know, this person's that, this person's that. But again, like I talked about before, everybody has a different fingerprint. So you
Right.
never know what's going on in somebody's world, and we have to be understanding of that. No matter how much it pisses you off, but you got to understand and step back and understand that people are complicated. I think the spirit world's a little less complicated than the living, you know, but that's
That's a fact. That's a fact. Thomas, why don't you tell everybody how to get a hold of you?
yeah. I don't want anybody to get a hold of me. No, I'm kidding. I am, on Facebook, I'm Thomas Patrick Gormley. On TikTok and Instagram, on the Archangel of the Paranormal. You know, CT Paracon at Gmail. What was it? I think it's at gmail.org, something like that. Is it? I don't know. But it's on all of our stuff for all our events, to be able to get a table at our event, anything like that. You know, the Shaman and the Showman LLC. My email is the Archangel of the Paranormal at gmail.com. If you got a question, anything like that I can answer and help you, more than happy to do that. Only a few people have my phone number, so keep it at that. If I gave it out too much, I already have it ring at least 25 times a day as it is already. So
Yep. Yeah. Well, I really appreciate having you on the show, and thank you. I know it was possible last minute. I know you got another show right after, but I really appreciate having this conversation with you because I felt like I have a better understanding of you. You know, and that's what it's about. That's exactly what it's about, and I appreciate everybody
my
who.
buddy Nate, he's one of the Salem 8, just so you know.
Nathan Elwa, yeah, he's
Man.
he's an awesome. What's up, buddy? Yeah, he just joined. He just joined our network also.
Well, Nate and I are
Oops.
attached.
Sorry, Nate. I didn't tell you. He did.
Yeah, Nate and I are attached at the soul. We're soul brothers, and
He's
we're always
awesome.
looking out for each other. And both of us have gone through some tough times, and we've always been there for each other. So
Yeah.
Glorious
I had
yeah.
I
Shane,
had him.
I hate to rush you, but we got to go, bud.
All right, Thomas.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on. Okay.
Yeah, hopefully I'll come on again in a while if you need me.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep. Definitely, brother.
Please do.
Definitely. Take care.
Appreciate
All right, I'm going to take you down.
All right.
All right, close us out.
Thank you guys for being on with us, and thank you for just spending time, because it's very important that we do learn from each other and really try to build the paranormal field to where it should be. And you guys stick with it, just be the change that you want to see, and stick with me, and let's make this show really, really good. And
always is.
But
always.
you guys have an awesome night. Thank you for taking your time out with us, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. And you guys be blessed always and stay spooky. Peace.